Oh hey, it's Emily, and today I'm going to be talking about the books I hope to read in the month of June. We're on the floor today. I'm not feeling 100%, I'll be honest, and so and the lighting was better right here anyway, so this is what we're working with. So I'm going to section this kind of how I usually structure these videos. I'll talk about what I just briefly mentioned, what I read in the previous month and whether or not I was successful with last month's TBR. I will talk about what I'm currently reading, and then I will also get into the roles and talk about what else I would love to read in the month of June. So to start off with, we have well, first I finished Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. I also read Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. This was on the TBRLand TBR for a mood read, and I did successfully complete that. I also read The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I also read the first book in the second era Mistborn series, The Alloy of Law. I also read The Cartographers by Ping Shepherd. I also read, actually decided not to finish, Only a Monster by Vanessa Lynn, and this was on the TBRLand TBR as a Fairy Loot or Book of the Month book. And I also did finish A Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Van. This was on the Jesse's deck of it was on the TBRLand TBR for a Jesse's deck of TBR card prompt to start a new series, so I did complete that. I also read The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axio, and then I am currently reading, this was on the TBRLand TBR as a mood read. I'm currently almost 200 pages into A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. And that is the only book I am fully in the middle of at the moment, so this one will continue. I'll hopefully be able to finish that at the beginning part of June here. So overall, pretty successful. I feel like I had a really good reading month. I will hopefully be able to get a wrap-up up much faster than I have for previous months. I believe my March and April one either was just posted or should be posted soon, depending on what order I feel like I want to do these and how quickly I can get this one edited. Anyway, so let's get on to the rolls for the month of June. On to the first roll. And roll 1. And that is an 18. A TBR deck card. And a Jesse's deck of TBR cards. And my usual caveat, I will redraw a prompt if I can't fulfill it with my physical TBR. Just, as I've said, I'm trying to get that down. So, eventually I'll be able to play this and just do whatever prompt it is and just actively go find something to fit that prompt if I don't already have it. But is what it is. Alright, just giving a very quick rough shuffle, and I'm feeling this one right here. And this is the What If a Strange, Odd, or Innovative Premise. So this one can definitely be up to interpretation, which I appreciate. So I feel like I can make this fit with some of the things that I would like to read in the next month. So I'm going to go with Blood Siren by Deborah Fillet, and I'm going to go with this one because it incorporates an element that I haven't really seen in YA fantasy. So some of these elements are touched upon in some YA fantasies that I've read, but not quite like this. So this one focuses on child soldiers who are conscripted, and it follows someone who is forced into the army and needs to hide a power that she has, a magical ability that she has, and decides when she's conscripted that she's going to try to rise within the ranks of the army to kind of take it down from within and take those in power down from within. And so again, we've seen some of these elements in YA fantasies before, but not focused on child soldiers. At least I think in the way that it's going to be approached in this one, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a fantasy, or it's a fairy loot, excuse me, that I need to get to. I believe I'm caught up through March, but this is one of the April ones that I would love to go ahead and read in June. The goal is to hopefully be caught up from April and May and June, and that way maybe by the end of June or in early July I'll be fully caught up on all my fairy loots and book of the months. Anyway, so let's get into the second roll. And roll 2 is a 14. And a fairy loot card. A fairy loot card. So I've taken a selection of the fairy loot tarot cards that I have, where I have a little prompt kind of posted on each one, and I have selected some, I kind of grabbed just a handful, and there are quite a few in here that should hopefully be able to match some of what I want to get to this month, which again is heavily focused on fairy loots and book of the months. So we'll do this one. And so this is continue a series, which is perfect because one of the things I also need to read in the month of June is A City of Glass by Cassandra Clare, and this is the third book in the Mortal Instruments series. I'm following along with the Bookstara read along for this. Links down below for more information. So this one can officially go on the TBR, and I think we're just continuing Clary's story. She kind of gets sucked into the world of shadow hunters and downworld creatures, and it's been entertaining. It is definitely very angsty and YA young adult vibes, but it's been entertaining and fun to follow. So we'll put that one on the TBR, and let's go for the third roll. And roll 3. 19. And a global read. So a global read, and the final one that I need to read for Kim and I's books on Cambodia. Again, links below. Kim and I are working to read around the world, and our first country was Cambodia. And we want to read The Elimination by Rithi Pan, and this is a nonfiction that follows Rithi's experiences with family, and I believe a lot of his family died in, they were in Phnom Penh around the revolution at the time of the Khmer Rouge. And so about his experiences, I believe he interviews one of the people who was very heavily influential in this genocide, and it's going to be really tough to read, I think, but I think it'll be really important history and context for that time and those events. So yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more, and we'll see what Kim and I think about this one. So it's good that that one's on the official TBR. It'll be good to actually wrap that up, and maybe Kim will be able to as well. We'll see. It would be nice for us to be able to wrap that up somewhat soon, and then we can figure out what to do next as far as kind of wrapping up our thoughts on the books that we read for that part of the project, and then pick a new country. So let's get into the fourth and final roll. And roll 4. And a 3. And a mood read. And mood read, which is always very much appreciated. I'm going to put Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez on there. This was a Book of the Month selection, and I got this for the month of May, and I have read a ton of fantasy recently. Again, I've been trying to catch up on a bunch of fairy loots and some of the Book of the Month ones, and so I've read a lot of fantasy recently, and I think it would be nice to just break it up a bit with some contemporary romance. I believe we follow 2 characters who are just from completely different worlds. Kind of city versus the countryside is what I've gathered from the synopsis. And you know, they meet and fall in love, and they need to try to figure out if they can really bring their two worlds together to be in that relationship. So hopefully I have a good time with this one. And yeah, we'll go ahead and put this on the TBRLand TBR. So of course I do have more Fairy Loots and Book of the Months that I would love to catch up on. One is An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X. Arpan. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling that is also inspired by Chinese mythology. That's really all I know, but I'm definitely looking forward to this one. And a couple of the Book of the Months, I have Kai Kei by Vaishnavi Patel. I've heard incredible things about this one. So this one follows the story of Kai Kei, or is a reimagining, retelling, I think, of the story of Kai Kei, who's a figure in Indian mythology. So I don't really want to know too many of the details, but I've heard amazing things, and when I'm in the mood in the month of June for more mythology-based books, you know, I read quite a few recently, but I know soon I'll be in the mood for some more. I've got this one and this one to reach for, so very excited about that. I also have, to break up some of the fantasy, I have The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas, and this is apparently Mexican Gothic meets Rebecca, so very Gothic story, historical, and it's also a horror that centers this ranch, and I was drawn in, and this cover is also just absolutely stunning. So when I'm in the mood for some horror or just something different, then there's this one as something that I can reach for. I have also thought about leaving this one for Summerween if I want to participate in that, but we'll see. A couple more Fairy Loots, and these are two of the more recent adult fantasy titles that they have put out in their adult subscription box. This is The City of Dusk by Tara Sen. So this one involves 4 noble houses, and they all kind of exist in this one city, and the gods have kind of withdrawn their favor from this city, and so there are people who are trying to kind of fight for the revival of this city. Should be interesting. They also have Book of Night by Holly Black as a selection. I believe this is an urban fantasy. I don't know too much about this one, but I know there are quite a few people who are anticipating this release or have read it recently as it just came out. So I'm excited to, I haven't read the Folk of the Air trilogy or anything else that Holly Black has written, so I'm intrigued to try. And I think the final thing that I'll mention is I did mention in my last TBR video Six of Crows and Vespertine as ones that I was hoping to get to. I've not gotten to these, so they're just gonna stay on the list of hopefuls, and we'll see what we can do. I'm very excited for all the things that I have on deck to reach for. So I think it'll be another fantastic reading month. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any thoughts about any of the books that I've mentioned. Let me know what you're excited to read in the month of June, and I'll be sure to link all the information I mentioned down below, along with my Twitter and Instagram, and more information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone.